Hi my friend, it's Pat Sloan here and it is Block Wednesday. But first, did you love my video yesterday talking about all of the crumb blocks that I made and the string blocks? These are the string and then the crumbs are the other ones. If you missed that video, here, up in the corner is a link to it. Down below is a link in the description box. I just had so much fun and so much great feedback, and then a lot of you shared in the community page over at Facebook, Quilt Along with Pat Sloan. You were sharing your quilts you made with crumbs or strips. And today I am going to do a little bit with one of those blocks. So be sure you watch the whole thing, even if you are not sewing with this project. The Boston cream pie as a dessert for sweet dreams is Greg's favorite thing. Now, is that a pie or is it a cake? It's cake with custard or pudding. I call it pudding, and then chocolate icing. And that's really his favorite. It's not mine. I don't like pudding at all, and so I'll eat a little bit of it. I'll eat the cake and the icing and leave the pudding, but they have to be good cake, good icing, or like give me a different dessert. So this is a tribute to his favorite dessert this week, and here's the block. I'm loving working with this moonstone fabric. It is so pretty and creating such a beautiful quilt. It's going to be so gorgeous in the end. Here is the first block, which was brownies. Let's take a look at the fabrics that I'm going to pick for the Boston cream pie. Because, you know, gotta have fun. So down here, here's the pattern, and what I've got is a group of the fabrics that I'm working with, which are moonstone and some options. So there's a big print that goes with this fabric line, and I really like it. I keep thinking, okay, how am I going to use that? You know, the center of this is a 3.5 inch square, and so I can get a lot of that flower. See, like there, that's pretty much, I could get, like, you know, fussy cut that whole flower in there. Or I could do like these blue ones, you know, those could go in there. So it's kind of like this, kind of like that. And so I'm auditioning that. So what would happen then? On the edges, there's this great big, on the edges are the sides rather, there's these 4 big squares. And those are a pattern, you know, to make something interesting. So I could go with the dark, and then I thought these corners, these half square triangles here, could be pink and black. So the black would be against here, which there is enough definition. It's not tons of definition. So what if I changed it to gray? Now that's a lighter gray. Or I've got a little bit darker gray, which actually looks better, don't you think? Yeah, so I've got a darker gray. But what if I don't want this floral? Instead, I could do a light, and then I could go back to a lighter gray if I wanted to. I could use this guy over here like that. Switch it up to here. I could do this with pink in the middle. So that could be an option. So you could actually make this whole quilt with like all different options of these fabrics, which would be so cool. And that's, whoops, here is the layout of them, just side by side. There's no sashing or anything. This is just side by side. But because of this square, it makes this really neat grid work. And if they were all the same fabric, that would just give it a certain effect, or you could make them scrappy. So I'm going to go back to using the big one and the pink and the dark gray. That's what I'm going to do. Now on the pattern, this center fabric will also be here and 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 here for mine. So, and this is the black, this is the pink, and this will be the gray. So that's what I'm going to do. Working with the colors, this is what I have before making the little half square triangles. But look what I did with the fussy cutting. This is this floral, and the floral, I did go in, let me put this down. I did go in and cut out that big pink flower from this section here, and then from that cut to the edge I used for the 2-inch squares and cut it all from that same area. But what happened was, as I laid these down, I found out that there was a lot of pattern for like where I cut the leaves, but then where there was more background, it was more open. So I decided to put all these dense ones in the middle. Let me rotate that so that I have the densest color towards the inside, going out. But I couldn't get a fourth one from that cut area, so I did have to go to another side of the fabric and I just went on the edge over here and cut the last square out of there. It's not what I would have wanted to do, but I couldn't get it. It just didn't happen from that area I was cutting, which was okay because the effect is so cool. One of the things about making this block, which was fun for me, was really doing that little bit of fussy cutting. And I want to show you how much waste there was. This is it. So all those tiny little trimmings, and then because I was fussy cutting from that big floral, I did end up with just this amount. That's it. So those would be sewn into something, maybe to make a 2.5-inch square, since that's kind of where I'll go with this, or put it in a bag to be sent away. So I thought it would be really, really cool to take a look at this block with one of the crumb blocks. The crumb blocks that are here hanging all over my studio still. So I went and grabbed one of them. And I got one I wasn't particularly keen on. I thought, I don't really want to use, I would like to do something more with this. So I thought, what if I cut the crumb block and put it in these 4 spots, like where the gray is, and then pair it with black and whites? And what if you did an entire quilt like that? I'm not doing an entire quilt like that today. Maybe never, but we're going to do one block. Before I make the crumb block, I have a question that came in from Paula about fabric picking. How to pick a group of fabric to do something like these samplers. And I know a lot of you feel like you struggle with picking fabric. And that's something, I'm going to be honest here, that's something I don't relate to, because I don't struggle at all with picking fabric. So I don't have that same feeling that you have. It isn't something that's ever been a problem for me. Fabric and picking it is the most fun part of the entire project, and it's very intuitive for me. Like trying to break down what I do intuitively is really difficult, but I'm sure some of you are going to relate to what Paula feels, because she really wants to know, is there a formula for picking it? Do I pick a certain number of fabrics? Do I pick a certain number of them that in the bundle have to be light, certain number have to be dark, blah blah blah? No, none of that. I don't do any of that. That's like a formula, and it makes no sense to me. I wouldn't even know how to tell you that, because I don't think like that. What I do is just find something I love. I look at the fabric bundle and I love it. Now I need to have some background. I need to have some contrast. So if you have a whole fabric bundle and everything is kind of the same tone, then you need to add in some lights and some darks, so that it's not just all medium tone, because it all mushes together. So like our moonstone, it has, I'll just show you on the end here, it has dark, medium, and light. So it's got blacks and, oh, this isn't working here. So it has the blacks and the grays. The grays are more medium. It's got pinks that are medium, and then the lights. So there is 3 shades, so it gives me something to work with. And then I have a background that I pick so that I can have contrast, and I got some extra of a bit of the dark, so I have some contrast. But basically I love this, and I looked at it and I thought, that's just super pretty. I want to work with that. What I would recommend is that understanding how to work with color is a sort of like a mental muscle. It's a something you have to physically do. Let's say, I'll give you a quick example. Let's say you want to learn to play tennis. If you just watch tennis on the television, or you watch, even if you go watch it in person, but you never actually go on the court, pick up the racket and hit the ball and play against somebody, you're not going to be able to play tennis. You can't just watch and think about it. You have to get out and do it. The same thing is with fabric. The more that you make quilts and you pick your own fabric, the more you learn. You learn what you liked. You learned what worked. You learned what didn't work. And so then the next time you can use what you learned and you go forward and pick different choices. Or try to simulate what you did before, you know, in the color choices. Someday I'll do a little thing about color. I did when I was teaching, and it would be like a whole probably segment show. How I look at color when I'm trying to pull stuff together that's not like a purchase bundle. So anyway, maybe that will help some of you. All right, let's make this block. Okay, this is the crumb block that I made in 2021, and I need 3.5 inch squares. So this, you know, I can get all 4 of the 3.5 inch squares that we need out of this, and then I'm going to use these. I'm going to put the light is going to be where all the light is on here, center and all these sides, and then I'm going to do the polka dot. And then this black that has little images on it, little hearts. It's like playing card stuff, hearts, you know, spades, clover leaves. So that'll be what the half square triangles are. This block is, we won't use it all up, which means I'll have some extra and I'll sew it onto one of those smaller ones. But the 3.5 inch, one thing I want to do is let's see if I can get in here really close. I don't want to make a cut right on a seam if I can help it. Like if I wanted to go 3.5 right here, well then I'm cutting right on the seam, and well, I have to then open up this seam and it'll be a bit too big because the seam now will pop out and it'll be too big. So I want to go maybe past that a little bit so that I'm not with a seam right on my cut line. Okay. So if I do this, I will be getting the 3.5 first one. I'll get the first one. And I'm just messing around because I don't have to cut it straight across. I can play around like I just did and cut. So now I have one of the blocks, and I need to get 3 more. I will just go ahead and now cut all the way across. I think I will do that. I didn't know if I wanted to do that. I've got a bit of, sometimes when you release your seams, see if I can get in closer. Sometimes when you release your seams, your fabric sort of loosens up a bit. And now this doesn't look straight to me. So if I'm going to use this, I would want to straighten it up. Probably wasn't as unstraight as I thought it felt like. Okay, let's get, so I've got that piece over here, and we'll do the other side. I've got 2 of the blocks now. Let's do the other 2. I think I want the horses in there. I'm going to keep the horse fabric. I really like that word fabric. So that means I'm going to go a bit further over. So it'll still be some horses, but I actually could do 1 block down here, which gets some of the horses. So it's a dilemma. Do I want the horses more or the words more? And, okay. I'm going to do it like this and go across. There we go. And then I will, let's see. I'm going to go from the corner. So this will be the first one, and I get more, so I get more of those horses in, and I'm generating, you know, some waste. So I've got more of the horses in. Now I think what I'll do is I'll get the word in. So there'll be less horse or no horse, because I can't do both unless I were to resew it. So instead we will just, and then I'm going to be right up on that seam. So I'm going to show you that dilemma. I'm just going to do that so you can see. So I'm cutting that strip off. And then what I have here, like, this is ridiculous, you know, and there's actually a seam under there. So what I will do is just peel off the red. I could do it with a seam ripper. That might probably be more efficient. But I'm going to just peel that off because otherwise it's just a big lump of stuff. And now I can do the rest of my block. I'm going to cut it just on this side of the seam. Then I can go back and trim it up again and get the rest. All right, so I have, here are 4 blocks. And now I'm going to do the black and white, and there we go, all of these. So this is a bit of a mess. The vision of the white is not holding out with these colors. I think maybe if it were more solid white, not the print, I think I'm going to leave this in here and then possibly put the dots there, or just get solid whites. Let me try that. Okay, this is much better. It holds together better to have more solid borders, but the top part up here, this beige, that's visually is like a big white piece. Like, I'm thinking I will just replace it maybe with that, or maybe I won't, because eventually it'll go against something else. But I could just put that red strip up there instead. What I would do would just be cut off the white, and then sew on some of these other pieces from the scraps. So I changed my mind again when I was sewing it, because I thought, you know what, I think I'm just going to keep it all black for this setting. And I switched so that the polka dot was in the middle, because it made kind of like a little flower like in the corner. Now if I had kept this in the center, you can get an idea. Like, I don't think it added a whole lot. Plus, I'll just go ahead and keep this for my Secret Live settings because it's the right size. So I will keep that. The little ones that I did, I will keep to use for the squares in these little mini Hustle Bustle shoe flies, little baby shoe flies. So they won't go to waste either. They're a little big, so I gotta trim them down just a little bit. There was the total waste. The waste from, this is from the Moonstone, and this was from the Scrappy, plus things I had to reuse. So it was a bit of an experiment there. Got this stuff to sew onto one of the other scrap blocks, which I'll do. Here was the original block. Ta-da! In Moonstone. And then the Scrappy version with the crumb block. I'm really kind of excited about that. It's very busy, so that might not appeal to some people, but I think it's so fun to use those crumb blocks up, because I gotta do something with them, right? That's part of the goal. So Moonstone. Also, I would tell you, Kimberly Jolly of the Fat Quarter Shop is sewing along with Sweet Dreams, and here is a picture of her block that she showed last Friday on her live stream at YouTube. So there's a link in the description box below, and I'm sure she'll show her block for this week on Fridays during the live stream. So that was super exciting. I know a lot of you have come over because you saw my sew along there. If you missed the first block, here it is. Okay, so you're good to go and make a Boston cream pie. Maybe you'll make a real one and eat it. Let me know. Let me know if you like them, or if you're like me, like, rather have something else. So I love you. Mwah. See you online.